Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Om Sri Mahaganapataye Namaha Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। So, namaste once again, everyone.
Namaste, Guruji.
So, after completing the Vedanta teaching with the 82nd sloka in our selection, we are now discussing about Nididhyasanam or Vedantic meditation, which is an important sadhana for the completion of Jnana Yoga. And as I mentioned in the last class, Shankaracharya devotes 173 shlokas in the original text to elaborately discuss about Nididhyasana. Probably one of the topics which he has dealt with in thoroughly rather. But we have skipped all those verses in our selection. And the reason which I feel why Pujya Swamiji, or rather not Pujya Swamiji, Swami Paramathananda ji, when he selected 108 verses, why he left out this entire portion of Nididhyasana, I can hazard a guess why he would have done that. The reason could be that Nididhyasanam sadhana has to be pursued after successful completion of Shravanam and Manana. Only after the student has gained doubtless knowledge will he or she be ready for Nididhyasana. And for gaining doubtless knowledge, the student has to undertake a systematic and consistent study for a length of time under a competent guru. Study of what? Study of the Prasthana Trayam, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and Brahma Sutra. So a mere study of Prakarana Granthas like Vivekachudamani will not lead to Nididhyasanam stage. Now this Prakarana Granthas, now question may arise, if that is the case, why did Shankaracharya include 173 verses? A very logical question, you know. On Nididhyasanam, then Shankaracharya also should have skipped. The reason being, there again, we have to understand, Prakarana Granthas can be studied at two stages. Before Shravanam, Mananam, or along with, in the initial stage, you know, before you get headlong into Vedanta, you can study the Prakarana Granthas. The same Prakarana Granthas can be studied after you complete your Shravanam, Mananam also. At that stage, it will serve as a sort of a, revision of what all you have learned. So probably Adi Shankara assumed that the students who will be studying Vivekachudamani may belong to both the classes. Some students may be beginners, some students may be advanced students. So from the point of view of completion of this text, he would have included this important topic of Nididhyasana. Whereas when Pujya Swamiji, or for that matter, Swami Paramathanandaji and all, they made the selection, they very well knew that the students who are going to study this are beginning students. They are not students who have already completed. I mean, if you look at it, does even a single sannyasi attend our class? Pujya Swamiji's class, if you go, you will find many sannyasis attending that, who have dedicated themselves to the study of scriptures by taking sannyasa ashram. Whereas in our classes, we cannot expect. So, by default, we know that people who are attending these classes are beginners. They have not, for to talk of Prasthanatrayam, many would not have even completed a proper study. Proper study means I am talking about Shravanam and Mananam of even Bhagavad Gita. Forget Upanishads, forget Brahma Sutra. So therefore, this entire portion, probably Swami Paramathananda said, this is meant for advanced students, students who have completed their Shravanam and Mananam successfully. At this stage, it will not be relevant for the beginners to go into Nididhyasana. So instead of going sloka by sloka in the original text, Swami Paramathananda has chosen to sort of briefly, deal with this topic and explain some important features of this sadhana. And that is why probably this entire portion of 173 verses was excluded in selecting the 108 verses from the original text. So this is what because nobody has told me why these 173 verses have been excluded. Even Swami Paramathanandaji, he does not explain why this was excluded. But then when I looked at it, I thought this is the most logical reason why it could have been done. And as we have discussed, Shravanam and Mananam gives doubtless knowledge. Samshaya Rahita Jnana. And at that stage, the student is convinced about the teaching of Vedanta. But the Jnana Phalam will still elude him in the absence of the practice of this third sadhana called Nididhyasana. And as I emphasized, this stage is extremely important because Nididhyasanam alone removes the blockages or the obstacles between Jnanam and Jnana Phalam. Which obstacles are called Viparita Bhavana. Our habitual thinking process is called Viparita Bhavana. Because not only in this birth, but from past so many births, there is a habitual thinking which we have. There is a past orientation, the samskaras, which we have been carrying with us for past so many births, and which is totally out of tune with the Vedantic teaching. And this is called Viparita. Contradictory or opposite nature. And one glaring example of that, day in and day out, we talk about is our total identification with the body-mind complex as against identification with our real self, which is consciousness. Therefore, as long as Viparita Bhavana is there, Jnanam may be there, but Jnana Phalam or Jivan Mukti, peace and joy, I will not be able to derive. Therefore, if I have to come from Jnanam to Jnana Phalam, removal of this blockage of Viparita Bhavana is very important, for which Nididhyasanam becomes extremely important. Even the next point, even though we term Nididhyasanam as Vedantic meditation, it is different from what we understand by the term meditation as stated in Yoga Shastra. Because in Yoga Shastra, meditation, dhyanam, is defined as chitta vritti nirodha, which is removal of all thoughts from the mind. Vedantic meditation is not removal of all thoughts. Of course, we can say, in order to accommodate the Yoga Shastra point of view also, that in the initial preliminary state, there is a chitta vritti nirodha. We take out all thoughts, but immediately thereafter, we bring the thought of our knowledge, the thoughts of our knowledge. So the removal of all other thoughts, we can say, is what we define as chitta vritti nirodha, so that one can entertain only Vedantic thoughts. So removal of non-Vedantic thoughts and deliberately dwelling upon the Vedantic teaching, which is what Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Continuously entertaining only one thought, Vedantic thought. That is what is Vedantic meditation. And what do I hope to achieve through this Nididhyasanam? What is the aim? The aim is not getting any new knowledge. The knowledge part I have already received. Doubtless knowledge I have already received. I am fully convinced about the three pillars of Vedanta. Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahma Eva Naparaha. I am totally convinced. Therefore, I am not working for any new knowledge, any new experience, even any new mystical experience. None of them is my goal in Nididhyasana. I don't even work for moksha, because I have already gained the knowledge that moksha is my swarupam. So, to know that moksha is my swarupam is the knowledge I have gained. So, if already I am a mukta purusha, then why should I work for that? To get moksha. And the logic is, I cannot get moksha because what is already there cannot be got separately. Now, I am a man. I cannot work for being a man. I'm already a man or already a human being. I don't need to work for becoming a human being. Even if moksha is got as something in time, it will be lost in time. It will not be a permanent moksha. Therefore, I never work for moksha in nididhyasana. In fact, in nididhyasanam, I need to remember that teaching that moksha is my swarupa. I am already mukta, so let me not look for moksha. Therefore, it is not about getting moksha, not getting knowledge, not getting any new mystical experience, etc. Then what is nididhyasanam for? As I said, it is for removal of the habitual pattern of thinking. Normally, our thinking is in the form of anatma obsession. Before coming to Vedanta, we are obsessed with anatma only. Why before coming? Even after coming to Vedanta, for a significant period of time, we are obsessed with anatma only. Because we never knew and still we do not know what Atma is, what my real nature is. And what is the type of anatma obsession? Not the entire anatma of the entire anatma prapancha. We have carved out a particular area and we deeply identify with that. It's a fenced area or an enclosure labeled as mamakara, ahankara, and mamakara, me and mine. Swami Paramathananda ji uses the expression Pancha Anatma. This carved out portion, it consists of Pancha Anatma which we are obsessed with throughout our life. What are they? Mind, body, family, possessions, position. Obsessed with this. The first and the closest anatma is the mind. Next one is the body. I have got prarabdha based identification with my body and mind. In addition to that, there is ignorance based identification also. I have concluded that I am the body and mind. So two types of abhimana are there, samanya abhimana and prarabdha based abhimana. The samanya abhimana is prarabdha based. Then vishesha abhimana is ignorance based, intellectual conclusion that I am the body, mind, sense complex. So these two, samanya abhimana and vishesha abhimana, these two anatmas are my huge obsessions. And through this body, mind, sense complex, I extend the abhimana to the family. Because we are related to the parents, body is related to the siblings. Then later the body is related to the children, grandchildren, etc. In short, the entire family anatma becomes the third huge obsession. Obsession means something which we constantly think about, are constantly preoccupied with. Any free time we get, one of these will enter our mind. And through this, I am associated with the residence in which my family is accommodated, my house, my land, my property, my extra property, my summer property, my winter property, preservation, maintenance, whatever possessions I have. Akshaya Tritiya, I should buy gold. All this obsession. So possession is the fourth one, in which one has abhimana. And this is the abhimana which leads to obsession. And I have to maintain the whole anatma. Therefore, I require regular resources. For that, and to make a living, I have to have earnings for which I have to have a career, a livelihood, a profession, or a vocation. So profession or a job or whatever business you are doing becomes the fifth final abhimana. Many people I have come across, their abhimana with this profession or their job is so much that they are not willing to go on a holiday with the family also. The whole family is going on a holiday to some place. So there is a abhimana clash. The family abhimana versus professional abhimana. And for that, those people, the professional abhimana takes precedence. So they say, no, 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 I won't get leave. I can't go away from my business, blah, blah, blah. So this is the Pancha Anatma Abhimana, a carved out area which occupies my mind almost all the time. And my desire is that these fivefold anatmas must be under my control all the time. I not only want to have the ownership, but through that, I want to establish my controllership also. Controllership means everything should happen within this labeled area according to my raga dvesha criteria. I have got strong ideas about what should happen. And in fact, stronger ideas about what should not happen. How my spouse should behave. How my children should not behave. All this I have got very strong ideas. All said and done, unfortunately, as individuals, we don't have total control over any of these five pancha anatmas. We do have some control. We do have a free will. We do have resources, but it is never total because there are so many unpredictable factors. So many extraneous factors. Just 2-3 years ago, we had this coronavirus over which the entire humanity had no control. In spite of so much scientific advancement. Of course, we got these vaccines and all that. Again, that there is now, whether vaccines really controlled or not, or it only prevented one type of virus, we don't know. Even now, variants of that virus are surfacing. So, when there are things which the entire humanity itself is not able to control, what to talk of I as an individual? So, there are so many unknown factors. There are so many uncontrollable factors. Therefore, things will be unpredictable, which means things can go against my expectations. And in fact, many are already going out of control also. It's only a question of time. You think you have control over your children, let the children become teenagers, then you will know. Therefore, anatma obsession will lead only to worry, fear, and anxiety. And therefore, anxiety, worry, and fear influence our habitual thinking. And since everybody does that, almost everyone has concluded that it is the norm. That is how I should behave. That is how I can behave. Healthy living means regularly worry, regularly have anxious moments in your life, and regularly fear. Fear can be of anything, any type of fear. My spouse has gone out. It is now 6 hours. Not bothered to call me and tell me it is getting late. Already 8 o'clock at night. I called. The phone is switched off. Worry. What might have happened? In fact, our habitual thinking is so negatively oriented. Whenever something like this happens, first we have got all negative thoughts only. Would there have been an accident? Why the phone is switched off? Arey Baba, the phone could have run out of battery charge. Possible. Happens all the time. And if we are not worrying, if anybody doesn't worry, others complain. And they are amazed. What kind of a person you are? You don't have anything to worry at all. In fact, they even conclude that the one who doesn't worry is an irresponsible person, an abnormal person. Whoever worries alone is a responsible, caring person. Thus, samsara itself has become natural a habit. And the irony is, people will advise others, don't worry, take it easy, everything will be all right, etc. But if somebody doesn't worry, he is considered odd and irresponsible. This is our habitual thinking. And Vedanta calls this Viparita Bhavana. And this Bhavana has happened because of our basic ignorance, basic self-ignorance. Therefore, first I identify with body, mind, anatma. Through that, I extend it to the family, possessions, position, etc. So I am in a permanent state of worry and fear. So the first aim of Nididhyasanam, therefore, is diluting this Pancha Anatma Abhimana. You may not be able to get rid of it completely, but through Nididhyasanam, you may be able to sufficiently dilute this Pancha Anatma Abhimana, this obsession. How do you do that? By seeing that each one of these five anatma belong to the total anatma. And that total anatma is under the control of law of karma, which is invisible. Prarabdha is invisible. Either individual prarabdha or family prarabdha is invisible. So anatma is under the control of karma or control of Bhagavan through karma. That is the reality of anatma, which fact cannot be altered. Therefore, I have to learn to tell myself, I am ready to accept the future of Pancha Anatma as it unfolds. I am ready to accept. I am willing to go through whatever it brings forth. Nitidhyasanam helps you to prepare for that. Lord Krishna says in the Gita, Tasmat apariharyerte natvam shochitum arhasi. Worrying over choiceless situations is foolishness because they cannot be remedied. Your spouse prarabdha, your children's prarabdha, your parents prarabdha, you have no control over that. So what is the point when certain situations unfold? What is the point in worrying over it? It's a choiceless situation. You just have to accept it and move on. Therefore, this anatma obsession, this viparita bhavana should be diluted. In fact, Swami Paramathanandaji calls this a group of four negatives. Dushta Chatushtayam, he says. He's brilliant in coining, new what I would call, phrases, so that we can remember all these things. That's why he's one of the most foremost teacher today of Vedanta. If you don't learn Vedanta with Swami Paramathananda's teaching, you will never learn Vedanta. So simple and nice, as they call it, user friendly. So what is this Dushta Chatushtayam? Ahankara, Mamakara, Raga and Dvesha. These fourfold robbers of my peace and happiness, I should learn to handle them through Nididhyasanam. Through Nididhyasanam, I have to learn to stand aloof as Atma. Look at Anatma and say, Matra sparshastu kaunteya, Sitoshna sukha dukkha आगमा अपायिनो नित्या है तांतिति चस्व भारत. Agama Paina, these things will come and go. You can't do anything about it. Therefore, learn to develop titiksha, forbearance. Just as Bhagavan has given natural immunity to the body, Bhagavan has given immunity to the mind also. Titiksha is there in everyone's mind for invocation. In fact, if you all remember, during the initial COVID days, they said, build up your immunity because there is no vaccine for this virus. This was before they discovered the vaccine or invented the vaccine or whatever it is. Later, of course, they developed the vaccine. Similarly, we have to build up our psychological immunity by invoking titiksha, which we all have. Only I have to tell myself, I am ready. I don't mind any situation. Yat bhavyam tad bhavatu. Bhagavan purna karmanurupam. Hey Bhagavan, whatever has to happen, let it happen as per the previous karmas. So I have to invoke titiksha and say, I am ready. I have the courage to face my fears. I have the strength to go through the pain. And thus, the first aim of Nididhyasanam is dilution of anatma obsession. That is why in the well-known Nirvana Shatkam of Shankaracharya, there is a beautiful Nididhyasana sloka. He says, Mano buddhyahankara chittani naham. This is not that neat.
Nashrota jive down.
Yeah, Nisrota Jikve, Grahana Netre, Mano Buddhyang, Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham. न च श्रोत्र जिह्वे न च घ्राण नेत्रे न च व्योम भूमिर्न तेजो न वायुः चिदानंद रूप शिवोहम शिवोहम. These are all the Nididhyasanam slokas. So many are there. So the first three, Mano Buddhi Ahankara Chittani Na Aham. Na Nacha Shrotra Jikve Nacha Prana Netre. Nacha Vyomir Bhumirna Teja Na Vayuhu. All these three are meant for what? Removing this anatma obsession. All of them are anatma. Removing the worry and fear of the future. And once I practice this first part of the meditation, which is anatma obsession removal, ahankara, mamakara, raga, dvesha dilution, dushta chatushtaya dilution, then in the second part of meditation, I will have a unpreoccupied mind, an unobsessed mind, which is available for invoking my Atma Swarupam as received through Shravanam and Mananam. And what is that? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. So only then, only after I have sufficiently diluted the Anatma obsession, can I meditate. I am the Atma behind the body, mind, sense complex. Sachidananda Swarupa Aham. And I have got another luxury. I myself am Brahman, that on that I can meditate. It is eternal and all-pervading, which sustains and supports the entire universe, which is never affected by the universe. I can meditate on Bhagavad Gita sloka, the 9th chapter. We have not seen the Gita students. Matstani sarva bhutani, nacha matstani bhutani. Meditate on that. Lord Krishna says, so in meditation, I repeat the same. In me, I accommodate the entire universe. I do not reject the universe. I am not afraid of the universe. I don't want to escape from the universe. I happily accommodate the entire universe, entire world. Because the Mithya universe cannot touch me, cannot do me any harm. The whole thing is a Mithya. Like Vidyaranya Swami says in Panchadashi, Maya Medha Jaganniram Varshatvesha Yatha Tatha Chidakashasya no Hanihi Nava Labha Iti Stitihi. Niram Varshatvesha Yatha Tatha Maya Medo Jaganniram Varshatvesha Yatha Tatha Chidakashasya no Hanir Nava Labha Iti Stitihi. Beautiful. I mean, Vidyaranya Swami also, I mean, it's like Shankaracharya, very poetic, very beautiful expression, highly imaginative. He says, let Maya cloud rain the Anatma events. But I am Chidakasha. I am never affected positively or negatively by the cloud or the rain. Thus, I look at myself as the substratum of the universe. The whole universe exists because of me. And not only that, all glories of the creation are also mine. They belong to me. They belong to my Maya. Maya belongs to Brahman, and I am that Brahman. Therefore, when you come to the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you can convert the entire 10th chapter into Nididhyasana slokas. All vibhutis are glories which Lord Krishna enumerates in the 10th chapter. I can also enumerate them and claiming them as my vibhuti based on the Vedantic teaching. Anoraniyanahamev tadvat mahanaham vishwamaham vichitram puratanoham purushohamishah hiranymayoham shivarupamasmi. This is a mantra from Kaivalya Upanishad. The Upanishads are replete with Atma Dhyanam, Atma Vibhuti Dhyanam. So many slokas are there. Shankaracharya has also written many Nididhyasana slokas. If only we can memorize those slokas or at least learn their meanings in meditation, we can thoroughly enjoy Atma Vibhuti, both Nirguna and Saguna Vibhuti. Thus, I train my mind, reduce Anatma obsession, increase Atma awareness in Nididhyasana. Therefore, what is now Nididhyasanam? Reduction of Anatma obsession. Mind you, here I want to put a disclaimer. When I say reduction of Anatma obsession, I do not mean that one should become indifferent to one's responsibilities, including family responsibilities. Vedanta never says that. As an individual in the world, whatever needs to be done, I should continue to do it. What I avoid is obsession. You remember the example of role play, which we discussed about a few classes ago. What we want to avoid is obsession. We don't want to avoid our responsibility. So I don't ignore my responsibility. I am aware that I have to do my duties until death, depending upon my ashrama. Sannyasis also have got their prescribed duties. Lord Krishna says in the Gita, Loka sangraham evapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. This is for a sannyasi. Depending upon your prarabdha, do loka sangraham in one way or the other. That is the duty of a sannyasi. He has to do it. Thus, negligence of one's responsibility is never prescribed. Non-worry does not mean negligence of duty. We can perfectly take care of our duties without entertaining worries. And this is what is called Jivan Mukti. Krishna again says in the Gita, Gata Sangasya Muktasya Jnanavastita Chetasah Yajnaya Charata Karma Samagram Praviliyate. And there is another scripture called Ashtavakra Gita, which actually talks about Grihastha's Jivan Mukti. So all these things indicates that Jivan Mukti can be attained by everyone, whether one is a brahmachari or a grihastha or a vanaprastha or even a sannyasi. But it requires nididhyasanam after shravanam. Else knowledge will be there in one corner of the mind and obsession will be continuing in another corner. Therefore, we have to do long shravanam, longer mananam, and even longer nididhyasanam. And if a person practices this jnana yoga, consisting of shravanam, mananam, and nididhyasanam, he will have the great benefit of Jivan Mukti while he lives in the world. He will never ever be overpowered by the world. So Swami Paramathananda ji presents this in the form of 5 capsules of Vedanta, which I would like to share with you. I am of the nature of the all-pervading eternal consciousness. I am of the nature of eternal and all-pervading consciousness, existence, and happiness. Chidananda Swarupaha Aham. Satchidananda Swarupaha Aham. Then second point, I am the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness. World may give them, but they will be impermanent. So I am the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness. Third point, by my mere presence, I lend existence to the material body, and through the body, I experience the world. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam, tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. And next, most important capsule. I am not affected by anything that takes place in the material world or in the material body. In short, I am never affected by any event that happens to the material anatma. Then last one, by forgetting my real nature, I convert life into a burden, and by remembering my nature, I convert life into a blessing. Worry and fear are saturating the mind. I get up with worry, I go to bed with worry and fear. By ignoring my nature, I convert life into a burden. By remembering my nature, by invoking my nature, I convert life into a blessing. This entire life is an opportunity to dwell on my glory, my vibhuti, saguna nirguna vibhuti. As a jnani, I can function in the world by invoking my super waker status. In fact, this human life is an opportunity given to me to claim my super waker nature and thoroughly enjoy my super waker glory. Taittiriya says, Aham annam aham annadah aham sloka krit. So through Nididhyasanam, I deliberately practice all these because anatma obsession has become a habit. That viparita bhavana doesn't easily go away. Therefore, it requires a long practice until it is natural for me to be joyous. There is no crease in the forehead caused by worries. My face is not a gloomy face. It is a bloomy face. And that is why, sannyasis are given the name Swami so and so Ananda, indicating that Ananda dominates, not worry and fear. Shankaracharya says in Dhanyashtakam, which we have already seen this sloka, but again is worth repeating here. Sampurnam Jagadeva Nandana Sampurnam Jagadeva Nandanavanam Sarvepi Kalpadruma Gangam Vari Samastavari Nivaha Punya Samasta Kriya Vacha Prakrita Samskrita Sutishiro Varanasi Medini Sarvavasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishte Parabrahmani. You have seen this some classes ago. Sampurna Jagadeva Nandanavanam Sarvepi Kalpadruma Gangam Vari Samasta Vari Nivaha Punya Samasta Kriya. For a jnani, the whole universe is recreation, relaxation ground. So jnanam is the result of Shravana Mananam. Jnana Phala Jivan Mukti is the result of Nididhyasanam. And therefore, a spiritual seeker should complete all these three levels as early as possible within this life itself, so that Jivan Mukti will be for a longer period. So this is the short explanation of what Nididhyasanam is. And those of you who are interested in more details, you have to go to the original text and study all the 173 slokas. There are beautiful verses in that, no doubt. In fact, in the verses that follow, this Nididhyasanam verses, the first 10 verses are profound verses. One of the verse, I think the second verse or the third verse, he says, Jati niti kulagatra duragam nama rupa guna dosha varjitam desha kala vishayati vartiyad brahma tattvamasi bhavayatmani. Brahma tattvamasi bhavayatmani. The Guru repeats, O student, give up anatma obsession. Invoke your Brahma Swarupam. Bhavayatmani. Tad Brahma Tvamasi. In fact, these slokas are all actually, they are also worth memorizing. Because when you go to Nididhyasanam stage, you need to carry a lot of these Nididhyasanam slokas, including the teachings rather, in your mind. You must be able to memorize that. You can't do Nididhyasanam by looking into some book or something like that, or listening to some tapes. Because, these slokas are worth memorizing and recall during Nididhyasanam, because Brahman's glory is enumerated in all these 10 verses. Each verse glorifies Brahman in the first 3 lines, and in the 4th line it says, may you claim this glory as yours and enjoy. Now let us assume that the seeker has gone through these verses, Nididhyasanam and all, and has attained Jivan Mukti. Thereafter, what will be the life that he can enjoy? That Jivan Mukti Phalam we are going to see in the following verses. In fact, Swami Paramatananda says that these verses are like, commercial advertisement. Because they will say, buy a TV for 1,000 rupees and take a free gift for 1,000 rupees. Or the word free will be in bold letters. Then in very small letters they will write, the rest you can pay in monthly installments lifelong. So similarly, he says the Acharyas have to present the Jivan Mukti Phalam. Then only the student will be attracted. Then we will write, this is possible only if you toil. If you struggle, go through the Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. So Vedanta is not about mere intellectualism. Oh, I've got everything. It is very, very practical. Because it gives the greatest practical benefit. So you must remember this in mind. Of course, I don't want to scare you or anything, but it is not as I said, a 3-year course or a 5-year course or nothing like that. Once you come into Vedanta, every moment of your life thereafter should be devoted to improving your own, I would call it, life through Vedanta teachings. Because the teaching can transform your life like it has transformed so many people's lives. And we as students, handful, when you compare to the whole world population, how many Vedanta students are there? We are really fortunate. We can consider ourselves to be the chosen ones by Bhagavan to put us in touch with a guru who can teach us this biggest secret. Gukhya tamam, he said. Krishna says this is Gukhya tamam, means the utmost secret. So we must make use of this opportunity through this Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. So with that, now we will enter into Jivan Mukti Phalam topic. Okay, verse number 83. I think we have got 5 minutes. We'll start it and then continue in the next class. Verse 83. Brahmatmano shoditayorak bhavam shoditayoho eka bhavavagahini nirvikalpa Chachinmatra vritti pranyeti katyate sustita sa bhavedyasya jivan muktah sa uchyate. Okay. Today I'm not getting the tune properly. Doesn't matter. I'll give you the Anmaya. Shoditayoho brahmatmanoho eka bhavavagahini nirvikalpa chinmatra vrittihi vrittihi prajna iti katyate yasya sa sustita bhavet sa jivan muktah uchyate. One definition of who is a jivan mukta. Shoditayoho, well analyzed. Brahmatmanoho, between Brahma and Atma, that is Jiva and Ishvara. Eka bhavavagahini, whose object is oneness, eka bhavam. Nirvikalpa, without duality of subject-object. Chinmatra, in the form of consciousness alone. Vrittihi, thought. Prajna iti, as prajna, kathyate, is said. Yasya, for whom. Sa, that knowledge. Sustita bhavet, becomes firm. Saha, he, Jivan Muktaha, as one liberated while living, Uchyate is called. So the Antakarana Vritti, the thought, whose object is oneness between Jiva and Ishvara, which is in the form of consciousness free from subject-object duality, is called Prajna. He for whom this knowledge becomes firm is called Jivan Mukta, liberated while living. So here Acharya gives a definition of Jivan Mukta. And let me tell you, this topic of Jivan Mukta is unique to Advaita Vedanta. Or we can say primarily found in Advaita Vedanta. We alone talk about liberation in this life itself, in this body itself. In all other systems, especially the theological systems, they do not accept mukti while one is alive. They say we have to die. One of the preconditions for moksha is you have to die. That is the first qualification. Then we have to travel and go to some loka. There alone you will get liberation. Whereas Advaita Vedanta promises liberation here and now. That jnani who does worldly transactions as a waker and who enjoys the life as a super waker, that waker cum super waker, a two-in-one jnani, is called Jivan Mukta. He is in this world, but he is not bound by it. He is in the body, but he is never bound even by old and sick body. Nothing can bind him. he is the Jivan Mukta. The one who has gone through Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam and has gained Atma Jnanam, in which he is very well established. He is in Jnana Nishtha. He is a Sthita Prajna. Initially through Shravanam he gets Jnanam. That's why he says Vritti Prajna iti Katyate, a very significant technical line. Self-knowledge has to take place in the form of a thought which arises in the intellect. That means it has to take place during Shravanam, when the teacher is revealing my real nature and my intellect is totally available. So having done the Panchakosha Viveka, I have to come to myself as I, the self-evident consciousness principle. And regarding this I, the Guru gives me the knowledge, this I, the Sakshi Chaitanyam, is not confined to the body. This Sakshi Chaitanyam is Brahma Chaitanyam. More we will see in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you all very much. Dhanyavadaha.
Thank you very much,
Guruji.
Guruji. Namaskaram.
Namaskar, Guruji. Thank you.
Namaskaram.
Namaskar, Guruji.
Namaskaram. Thank you.
Guruji, I have again 2 questions. Am I audible, Guruji?
Little more.
I have 2 questions, Guruji.
Yeah.
One is yeah, we are on Vedanta is all about Advaita Siddhanta and the knowledge of which brings you Jivan Mukti. Yes, but is there anything wrong in Dvaita and Vishishtadvaita at certain stages? It was one of my questions. And the other one, Guruji, here today in today's class, you have you rightly said that if anybody wants to know more about the Nididhyasanam, we need to do further studies. And today you have explained what are the benefits of Nididhyasanam and the 2 stages. That one is the
Removal of obsession.
removal of the obsessions and the rejection of the Atma obsession, and the second one is getting into the knowledge of that Aham Brahmasmi knowledge. Regarding this, Guruji, it is it's an intellectual exercise as well as a practical something to be practiced as well. But are there any prescribed steps for this practice of Nididhyasanam, or is it something that you need to do an advanced study to know that?
No, you have to first complete your study of Shravanam and Manana. You have to be very convinced about this knowledge. Like you asked the first question, that is the Mananam question, correct? Because there are so many other philosophies are there, so many other thoughts are there. Whether they are right or Advaita Vedanta is right, we don't know. How will we know? Just because one Guru, Acharya, Shankaracharya, whoever it says that, it may not necessarily be right, you know. So the only way we can get convinced is if our intellect is convinced, we will be convinced. And for intellect to be convinced, there are 2 aspects to it. One is there should be knowledge. Something should be there to be convinced about. And that our intellect, our reasoning power should accept it as valid. Isn't it? Only when these 2 things combine, we will say that my intellect is convinced. Knowledge you will get through Shravana. Not a problem. It's the easiest part of the whole thing. But to convince your intellect, you have to go through this Mananam part of it. And Mananam part of it, at the at the later stage, when you go through, different text, Brahma Sutra, you must study for Manana. Without Brahma Sutra, your Mananam will not be complete because you may not have a doubt. Because the doubt will not even arise in your mind. But somebody, when you are talking, he may have that doubt. He will ask you. You should be able to answer that. If you are convinced, you will answer. If you are not convinced, you will say, oh, that one point I missed. Let me check and get back to you. So that particular situation should not arise. For that, as I said, Mananam is longer than Sravanam. Only at that, that's why Brahma Sutra is a very ideal text for that at the height of Mananam rather. But before you enter into Brahma Sutra, it is important that in Shravanam itself, you finish the Prasthanatrayam learning. At least Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad. Prasthanatrayam, of course, Brahma Sutra will come that later. So Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, you have to completely learn. And Upanishad also, not just one Upanishad or anything, maybe 5, 6, 7. We were taught 6 Upanishads. Big Upanishads like Brihadaranyaka, Chandogya and all. We saw portions of that, but we didn't go through the entire Upanishad. So at least a fair degree of exposure to Upanishad should be there. So that when you come to Brahma Sutra, it makes sense. Because there, Adi Shankara totally argues his entire argument both on logic and also scriptures. He quotes the scriptures, he says, this Upanishad says this. And that is why I am saying this. So it is a complete kind of a thing, I mean, you have to, what I should say, before you come to Nididhyasanam, this should be complete. So there are no prescribed texts. There are, slokas or, mantras which are there. And the beauty is, many Shravanam slokas and mantras can be converted into Nididhyasanam slokas. Because the content is the same. In one you are learning, the input is coming. Another one, you are chewing the whole thing, like the cows chew the cud, as they call it, You have already got it, convinced about it. Now, for removing the Viparita Bhavana, you need to convince yourself that what is all you have learned is correct. And that will go only by repeatedly meditating upon those teachings. So that is the process. So like that, this Nirvana, Shatkam and all, there's so many is there. So many slokas are there, which at this point in time, if you are not even convinced that Aham Brahmasmi, what is the point in saying Mano Buddhi Ahankara Naham? Today, as per our this thing, Mana Buddhi Ahankara, everything I am. How can I say Naham and then say I am convinced about it? If you are convinced about it, your whole transaction will be in tune with that conviction, isn't it? In fact, I was just reading somewhere, the latest thing in the West, which is the gender identification. You must have all come, you are in UK only, you must have come across. It's a big issue there. A fellow will say, don't call me he, I am a she. Even though I look like a man, my orientation is like a woman. So treat me as like a woman. Right? You have heard that?
Not exactly the same thing, Guruji, but in a different way.
Sorry?
Not exactly the same sentence, but I've come across different people.
Yeah, especially in schools and colleges, universities and all, what they call the woke culture or something like that. Of course, I have also not got the whole thing, what exactly it's all about. Here and there we read something. So like this, they are there. So they assume that I am not so and so and so, and they believe in that. And then they want you also to respond to what they believe themselves. It's a sort of, changing your identity. If you take that part of it only, forget the details. What is involved? Involved is changing your identity, and that is what Vedanta is all about. Changing your identity. From your identity as the body-mind complex to the unseen, unexperienced consciousness. That is my identity. So this is what it is. And there are so many, as I said, even Bhagavad Gita, you can pick up slokas and do nididhyasanam on that, because off and on Krishna talks about his Swarupa only. So like that, that's the answer to your first question. See, Visishta Advaitam and Dvaitam, nothing wrong with that, but they don't help you to get out of samsara. They don't help you to get out of fear, anxiety, and worry. Because as long as two things are there, where as long as your understanding is I am there and something else is there, fear will be there. Bhayam bhavati, dvaitam bhayam bhavati. In Visishta Advaitam, they go one step further. There is no fear of the world, but there is fear of the God, Ishwara. I must do things which will please Ishwara, so that he will shower his, I can go and be very near, part of Ishwara, Anga of Ishwara. It is only Advaitam which teaches that you are no different. You are the only one. There is nothing else. There is no word. There is no Ishvara. Nothing. If you want to think that they are all there, they are you only. So there is no fear. I don't fear myself. My fear is always, it comes from a external entity. My
Yes,
worries
yes,
are about external entities, isn't it?
yes, Guruji, but I just was thinking, this is the way my thoughts, and then the way I try to look at things is that just as a child totally trusts the parents for its welfare, for everything, a child completely trusts the parents. There's no question of doubt. And so with that, the child is quite joyous and carefree. So is it possible, can we not trust God to be like our parent, and then trust in God that everything I'm being taken care of, and then whatever I need to do, God will, just like the parents guide their children, their child. So with that kind of Dvaita Bhava, is it not possible to get into complete happiness and joyous state? Is it not possible? I'm not sure whether I'm clear in my question.
Advaita does not say that there is no God. Advaita says that there is God, but that God is you. When you say, I want to trust God, trust yourself. That is the ultimate of Advaita. If you are looking at God as an external entity, then when a child, you say, trusts the parents, there is a certain expectation of the child from the parents.
No, I'm talking about just the little child who doesn't know anything.
Little child also, it has expectations. It wants feed.
To be
It
fed
looks,
and
parents look that when it's hungry, it will look to his mother. There is the expectation.
Yeah. Naturally.
If the mother doesn't give the food, there will be a negative impact on the child's psyche. Isn't it?
Yes, Guru.
So, even when you are taking the example of a child or this thing, as long as there are two entities you are taking, there will be psychological issues, emotional issues. Worries will be there. Will be there.
Yeah, I think
Whereas Advaita says, These entities are all there, but that is you. Only one entity. They all merge into one entity, that is you. Once you are convinced about that, and for conviction, what is that? Just because X, Y, Z is saying no. Conviction is through the words of Bhagavan Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, or the words of Rishis, Shabda Pramana in Upanishads, and the words of Vyasacharya in Brahma Sutra. This is the basis on which your entire knowledge is gained. And all of them are saying this. Now, what is left is you have to convince your intellect, your reasoning power, using your reasoning power, and looking at all the evidence which is available in this. You have to convince yourself that this is what is correct. All along, I have been under a misconception because arising from ignorance. Ignorance means what? Lack of knowledge, absence of knowledge. Absence of this knowledge which is contained in the Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, and also Bhagavad Gita. In the absence of that knowledge, I have developed lot of misconceptions over many births, not just this life, so many lives. And I have been carrying those misconceptions as a samskaras from one birth to another birth to another birth. This has been going on. So the whole process has to be completely reversed. So the question you asked is a very valid question. Is Dvaitam, Vachishta, Advaitam? In fact, you start with that only. You can't reach Advaita Vedanta without first starting with Dvaitam and then graduating to Visishta Advaitam and finally coming to Advaita.
But moksha is possible only in Advaita.
Moksha is possible while living in Advaita.
Jivan Mukti.
Depends upon what you define moksha is. There are many people, there are Puranas which say moksha is going to some other Brahma Loka or Swarga Loka is moksha. Correct? So is that wrong? Bhagavan Krishna tells you it is wrong. Ine punye matte lokam vishanti, he says. So you may have earned a lot of punya and you have gone, moksha you got, and you went to some other loka, Vaikunta, Kailasa, Sarga Loka, enjoyed everything there, moksha. But when the punya gets exhausted, you come back to square one. Just like the snakes and ladder game. So that is what then when you study Bhagavad Gita and you see this, that means that is not moksha, that is not permanent moksha. Now what is permanent moksha? Where else is moksha dealt with? Upanishads it is dealt with. Upanishad says you can get moksha while living itself if you do Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. Okay, Upanishad says so. What is the proof? Your proof is you can't do Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam and then find yourself as a failure. Oh, I didn't get moksha, isn't it? That will be after doing everything, you will find you are not succeeded. You see around, are there people who have done this who have actually Mukta Purushas? And you find a lot of them. Many of them are Mukta Purushas. Okay, if that has happened to those people, in what way I am lesser than them? I am also a human being. I have also got the same intelligence, faculties, etc., which these people have. In fact, these people might have been even school dropouts. I don't know. But I am a brilliant person. I have got so many degrees. My brain power is 60. So why can't I try this? I have got evidence that there are people who have already become Mukta Purushas. Jivan Mukti they have attained. So then you have got some proof. that what the Upanishad says is correct. So like that, your own thinking has to evolve around all these things. That doesn't mean to say that Dvaitam is wrong or Advaita, this Visishta Advaitam is wrong. They're all stages in the progression.
Yeah, that's what they are stages.
They are stages.
Progressive stages. Yeah.
One cannot reach PhD without going through first standard, second standard, including nursery, isn't it? You have to go through nurseries, primary school, middle school, high school, then undergraduation, post-graduation, then only you final stage you will reach. That does not mean that once you have reached the PhD stage, all others are useless. No. They are all building blocks for this final stage you have come. So Dvaita, Advaita, and the Visishta, Advaita are all building blocks.
They have their own place.
They have got their own field. As I keep saying, you cannot come to Advaita without either in this life or in previous life gone through it. You start as a Dvaita only because that is the reality which you experience.
Yeah.
Duality, plurality of this world is what we experience. And we take it as real. That is our problem. When you come to the final stage to the Upanishad, they say, no, don't take that as real. They are all mithya. They are nothing but your own projections. So that is the very, I would call it a very profound teaching and disturbing teaching. What we have believed all along. It is just like, somebody, one couple, they adopt a child. Child treats that couple as its biological parents. We have seen this kind of scenes in movies. Suddenly, when the child is grown up and become, they say, no, we are not your parents. Karna, it happened, right? Mahabharata, it happens to Karna.
Yes, correct.
They tell him that, no, we are not your parents. And when this Kunti Devi goes and tells Karna, I am your mother, he says, get lost. So there are, we can look for these kind of examples in the scriptures itself. But what I am trying to tell you is, this is where finally it comes. And why we say it finally? Because ultimate, that is why we call Veda Anta. Veda Purva Bhaga, 80% of the total content of Vedas deal with Dvaitam. Right? Ishvara is there, I am here, I am a poor person, Sankalpam, Mamopata, Samasta, Durdakshay, Dwara, I am a papi, I have got lots of Duritas, so I want Ishvara to do the Chayam of the Duritas, right? All papas I want him to remove. Then Ksemastairya, Virya, Vijaya, Ayur, Arogya, Aishwaryanam, Abhivriddhyartam, all that only that Ishvara can give. That is why I am pleasing him. I am doing this puja. I am offering this Naivedyam. All this I am doing to please that Ishvara. 100% Dvaita. 80% of Vedas contain this. Then you come to Vedanta. Then they tell all that I have told you till now, my dear student, they were valid in its own time. In its own context, they were valid. Now I will tell you the secret of the whole life. That is Vedanta. 20% of Vedas is Upanishads. It comes in the end. They are not taught, they don't teach Upanishads in the beginning. It comes in the end only. That's why it's called Veda Anta. So that we have to understand all this design, how the whole thing is designed. Because if they teach Vedanta in the beginning, everybody will become a sannyasi, there won't be any world. Isn't it? No children, nothing. They don't want that. Rishis did not want, but Bhagavan, who is the Srishtikarta, doesn't want that. It is his cosmos, he has created from one angle, right? You also, suppose everything is fine. I have understood, I am Brahman, I am one with the Jivo, Ishwaran, Aparaya, all that I have understood. Would you still like to be confined to a small cubicle somewhere without any touch with the external world? No, because the world is so beautiful. World is so enjoyable rather.
Yeah.
You want to be with the world, you want to be with people, you want to be with situations. What you don't want is the problems that those people, those situations, they create. That you don't want. Because that affects you. So that samsara part you remove.
We can achieve with this knowledge.
You can achieve that with this knowledge, being in the same world, transacting with the other people in the same way, but without any raga dvesha. With lot of love and compassion for everybody. It will be a totally different experience for you also. Isn't it?
Yes.
So this is what is the whole scheme of this, our Shastras. That is where they want to take you, handhold you to that particular stage, the final stage.
Thank you very much, Guruji.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time and explaining to me.
No, time is what Guru's time is always for Sishyas only. No problem.
Thank you very much. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you. So we'll close the session. Thanks a lot.